Hey knitters, thanks for joining me for knitting your Bucolic Chic. I've got a couple of tips and tricks to share with you for this pattern. One of the questions that kept coming up in test knitting was how to tell the difference between the picot stitches, which are cast on first and incorporated into the shawl, and the live stitches. So you can keep your picot stitches on a separate needle and then use another needle for knitting your shawl. But the option that we all like best was the use of a locking stitch marker. After you've cast on your picot stitches, cast on your 2 additional cast on stitches. You take your locking stitch marker and you place it after the 2 additional cast on stitches, thereby delineating between the live stitches on your right and the picot stitches on your left. And then you work in pattern. So you work to 1 stitch before your locking stitch marker. And this is why you use the locking stitch marker. You remove it, move it to the left 1 stitch, lock it in place, and then work the live stitch incorporating the picot edge into your work. Now this locking stitch marker is in place for your next right side row. And if you knit backwards, this is the perfect time to utilize that technique. Work to the end of the row. If you don't knit backwards, you'll turn your work and purl. Alright, I'll show again. Work to 1 stitch before your picots. Remove the locking stitch marker. Slip 1 stitch from your picots to your live side. Replace the locking stitch marker. And then work the live stitch with the picot edge, incorporating the picot into the pattern. And then if you turn your work, and work in pattern to end. The more of these that you do, you may be able to read the difference between your live stitches and your picots. But don't worry, if you have to use this trick the whole way through, it works for both the increase section and the decrease section. I'll demonstrate one more time. Work in pattern to 1 stitch before your picot stitches. Remove your locking stitch marker. Replace it. Work the last live stitch with the picot edge stitch. And then work in pattern to end. And another great tip that one of my test knitters came up with is when you're doing your picot cast on, when you're halfway through the count, add a locking stitch marker there, and that way you can easily track. You increase all the way to the halfway point and then you decrease all the way to the end. Well, I hope these tips and tricks help you with your Bucolic Chic shawls. If you're joining us in our Instagram cal, the hashtag is Bucolic Chic cal. And happy knitting from me and Puddles. Have a great day, guys.